It's been 59 days since the world's been overrun from zombie toads. Since then, they mutated into zombies. I know, weird, but that leaves me here. After The Last of Us, I thought I'd be able to find a cure, but all I found was sadness.
They ask you how you are, and you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
I'm not sure what to do. It's not like there are any other super popular zombie games that might be able to show me a cure for the F virus. Wait!
Resident Evil.
Resident Evil games have had a lot of interpretations, especially the first one. From the original to the director's cut and the remake, there are quite a few versions of the original Resident Evil. But for this episode of What Is, I will be taking a look at both the remake and the original's history to see how it all came to be. Starting off with the 1996 release of Resident Evil. Development would start in 1993 when Toguro Fujiwara told Shinji Mikami to make a horror game using old assets from his game Sweet Home, a RPG released only in Japan. Resident Evil's first concept would see it being an FPS game, and boy, thank God they didn't do that. What asinine idea would it be to make Resident Evil an FPS shooter? I mean, that would make no sense whatsoever. Anyway, Resident Evil's name has always been a pretty big topic for the franchise, since over in Japan, it's known as Biohazard, and a lot of hardcore Resident Evil fans already know this. But the reason this change was made was due to Capcom US having some worries around getting that name. Chris Kramer, a Capcom executive, said, and I quote, "A crappy DOS game named Biohazard had just come out." Well, Chris, why don't you just tell us how you really feel, man? But along with the New York band also called Biohazard, they would need a name change. Capcom would hold a naming competition, with Resident Evil being one of the names suggested, and eventually voted to be the name of the game. They sent this name over back to Japan, where everyone was very happy with the name, and that is how Resident Evil got its US name. Resident Evil would finally be released on March 22nd, 1996, and it would be credited for coming up with the term survival horror. That's not where the story ends, though. In 2001, Capcom would make a deal with Nintendo to bring more Resident Evil games to their consoles. Along with this deal would come a Resident Evil 1 remake. Mikami would see this deal as an opportunity to remake their original Resident Evil, as he felt the graphics really didn't age that well, and the GameCube's hardware will help him achieve his original version for the game. And thank goodness they did this. I mean, look at these two games. Look at Resident Evil 1 and Resident Evil Remake. One looks like a children's cartoon, and the other looks like an actual horror game. The production for the game would start in 2001 with only 4 programmers to work on the project, and Mikami back in the director chair for yet another Resident Evil game. Resident Evil the remake would release on the same day as the original, just 6 years later on March 22nd, 2002. And also a little side tangent I have to go on real quick. Apparently the really crappy Resident Evil movie came out at this time. So while I was trying to research for the Resident Evil 2002 release, that dang movie kept popping up. Good lord, that is the scariest thing about making this video. It was like a freaking jump scare. It was scarier than any of the things that came from the actual game itself. Now, with all that said and done, let's jump into the differences between these two releases while taking a look at the game's presentation. Resident Evil has always been a game about atmosphere for me. Resident Evil does a great job of putting the player in a creepy environment, and the reason I don't say scary is because Resident Evil doesn't ever feel like it's trying to go for scary. Instead, they try to make an offsetting location with memorable rooms, like the Spencer Mansion. In this game, it has a dining hall, tiger room, and the iconic foyer. Resident Evil builds its scares off the environment, and not the monsters, which I can appreciate. Well, other than that snake. That thing's just straight cursed, man! I once feared quit this game, and no, not because of dogs. It was actually this staircase. It was horrifying to me. A dark stairwell only lit by the torches on the wall, and me having no idea what's down there while the soundtrack was playing this quiet, off-putting music. I didn't want to go down there, I quit right there! Resident Evil has always had a great sound direction. Okay, not the basement track, but everything else has a really nice sound to it. From the creepy hallway sounds to the aquatic theme heard underneath the pool, and as everyone likes to point out, including myself, the save room music. It's so hard to exactly say what makes this music so good. It could be the calming nature after fighting a freaking snake, or just the comfort of knowing that you're safe after entering the sanctuary. Well, not all the time, but that's a different game. Resident Evil also has a very unique camera angle system. You see, in Resident Evil, they have these security camera type angles, and these have some mixed signals among players. I myself like them. I think it's a very interesting way to deal with what a player can and cannot see and how to control it. But what may be more interesting is how all of this ties in with the gameplay. You will start out Resident Evil by having a choice to select between two different characters, Jill Valentine and Chris Redfield. Chris Redfield comes equipped with a lighter that will help him with puzzles throughout the game, and Jill comes equipped with a bigger inventory and a sandwich. Lockpick, which can open some locked doors that Chris would normally need a small key for. You will control these two off of tank controls. Basically, the way it works is your character moves like a tank. You push up on the analog pad and your character will move forward. But if you push left, then your character will turn left. This is a well-known control scheme for the Resident Evil series, mainly the original trilogy. The remake, however, adds a different way to control your character, and this is done with the analog stick. I don't know how to describe it. This feels weird to me. Like, sometimes it feels really nice to play with it, but sometimes it does this weird cut whenever you're switching camera angles where you're like moving one way and then you'll see the character like glitch and like do something weird. I don't know. I kind of go back and forth with it. With these controls and camera angles, it leads to some interesting combat in this game, as you need to think more critically about where you're putting your character. As Jill and Chris, these agents from the Special Tactics and Rescue Service, can only stand still while firing a weapon. Put yourself in a bad spot and you could be punished. Thankfully, the game comes with an auto aim feature, or I would be screwed. You'll be mostly shooting at zombies with these guns, the slow, shambling creatures that are all around the manor. The only way you can take these creeps out are by stabbing them like an actual Giga Chad, or shooting them with one of your weapons. Chris and Jill have some difference in weapons. Jill gets a grenade launcher, a shotgun, a magnum, and her pistol, while Chris gets a pistol, a shotgun, and a magnum. Each one of these weapons comes with their own special ammo that will take up some of your inventory. Speaking of inventory, let's talk about how that works. Mostly Jill and Chris's inventory are the same. Each inventory has a special item slot, a defense item slot, and normal item slots. Like I said earlier, Chris has a special lighter that will help him with puzzles, and Jill has a lockpick, as she's
the master of unlocking.
The defense items are used whenever you are grabbed by a zombie. A dagger will get a zombie off of you, while a hand grenade will blow off his head. Oh my god, that's so hardcore! The stun gun will just tase him to death. Sometimes, not all the time. Sometimes it could back up. Freaking Joe, you suck. Cool thing about daggers, though, is they can be retrieved after blowing a zombie's head off. Only works, though, if you fully decapitate them. If they just die, there's no way to get that knife back. Gone with forever. But you might not always have one of these handy defense items on you. If you get grabbed with no defense items, the enemy will attack you and lower your health. There are 5 stages to your health: fine, caution, orange caution, danger, and poison. The way you can heal yourself in the game is by mixing herbs. There are 3 different colored herbs in this game: red, blue, and green. Green herbs will heal you, and they can be mixed with other green herbs to increase the amount of health given. Red herbs will boost the effect of an herb. Mix a red and a green and you'll give yourself a full heal. Blue herbs will heal a poison effect and can't be mixed with red herbs. It can be mixed, though, with green to make a healing antidote, and can also be mixed with a green-red mix to make a full healing antidote. With all of these items, you will be able to fight your way through the manor. there are still plenty of obstacles in your way. There are a large amount of locked doors that Jill's lockpick can't get through. There are some keys hidden around the mansion that you will have to find through an array of what I think are some creative puzzles. Some will have you push statues, while others will have you slot an item in a certain area. I'm not going to spoil any of these puzzles, as I think they're really fun to figure out, and you should go in blind with them. The last thing to mention is your save rooms. These rooms have two important things in them. A typewriter, which you can save your progress on if you have an ink ribbon. I think it was always an interesting idea to lock saving behind an item management, but don't worry, there are plenty of these in the game. The second thing in the room is the item box. Since you have limited item slots in your inventory, you can put the overflow in this box. Just remember, anything you put in here is stuck in these boxes, meaning if you need a key item and you don't have it in your inventory, you will need to go all the way back to an item box to retrieve that item. There's only one more thing you can collect in this game, but in order to talk about that, we need to go through the game's plot first. Resident Evil's plot has always been complicated, but thankfully the first one keeps it somewhat simple. The Special Tactics and Rescue Service, also known as STARS, has sent in a Bravo team to investigate the Arklay Mountains after some reports of people eating each other. Yeah, you might want to check on that. Don't want that getting out of hand or anything. The Bravo team ends up mysteriously missing. The very smart people of the RPD say, hey, let's send in an Alpha team with a helicopter, cause why not? Alpha team arrives near the Spencer Manor when they're attacked by a pack of Cerberus, or aka zombie dogs. The team runs through the woods to find themselves at the manor. They then barricade themselves inside the mansion. With one of their members missing, either Jill or Chris has to go to investigate where they went and what's happening inside this mansion. But in order to find out what's happening in this manor, you will need to find some of these memos hiding around the mansion. Some will explain why there are zombies, and others will be your tutorial on how to play the game, like how to examine an item or combine herbs. Most of the time, they will help you solve puzzles that are around the mansion. I've always thought this is an interesting way to build the world of Resident Evil. I love that it's been a staple from the very beginning, but that's kind of how Resident Evil stories works. The more you find, the more you will know. These Lost Souls stories also tell of their tragic end, making every zombie you shoot feel just a bit more human. And now, a reading from Infinite Gamer. A Keeper's Diary. May 9th, 1998. At night, we played poker with Scott the guard, Elias, and Steve the researcher. Steve was really lucky, but I think he was cheating. What a scumbag. May 10th, 1998. Today, a high-ranking researcher asked me to take care of a new monster. It looked like a gorilla without any skin. They told me to feed him live food. When I threw in a pig, they played with it, tearing off the pig's legs and pulling out the guts before they actually ate it. May 11th, 1998. Around 5 o'clock this morning, Scott came in and woke me up suddenly. He was wearing a protection suit that looked like a spacesuit. He told me to put one on as well. I heard there was an accident in the basement lab. It's no wonder, those researchers never rest, even at night. May 12th, 1998. I've been wearing this annoying spacesuit since yesterday. My skin grows musty and feels very itchy. By way of revenge, I didn't feed those dogs today. Now I feel better. May 13th, 1998. I went to the medical room because my back is all swollen and feels itchy. They put a big bandage on my back and the doctor told me I did not need to wear the spacesuit anymore. I guess I can sleep well tonight. May 14th, 1998. When I woke up this morning, I found another blister on my foot. It was annoying, and I ended up dragging my foot as I went to the dog's pen. They have been quiet since morning, which is very unusual. I found that some of them had escaped. I'll be in real trouble if the higher-ups find out. May 15th, 1998. Even though I didn't feel well, I decided to go see Nancy. It's my first day off in a long time, but I was stopped by the guards on the way out. They said the company has ordered that no one leaves the grounds. I can't even make a phone call. What kind of joke is this? May 16th, 1998. I heard a researcher who tried to escape from the mansion was shot last night. My entire body feels burning and itchy at night. When I was scratching the swelling on my arm, a lump of rotten flesh just dropped off. What the hell's happening to me? May 19th, 1998. Fever gone, but itchy. Hungry, and eat doggy food. Itchy, itchy. Scott came. Ugly face. So I killed him. Tasty. 4. Itchy. Tasty. Normally I would talk about first impressions of the game and how my adventure went, but I played this game so many times I can't really recall my first playthrough. So I'm going to cover some of my favorite things about these games and some things that I don't like about them. Starting off with Resident Evil speedruns. If you have watched any of my Resident Evil videos, you would know that I love speedrunning these games. Normally there is a grade that comes along with these runs, like an S rank in the new games. That being said, Resident Evil 1 Remake doesn't have a grade. This fact bothers me probably more than it should, and is a reason I don't speedrun this game more than the others, just because there's no grade at the end. Like, why am I gonna be good at the game if the game's not gonna tell me I'm gonna be good? Along with that, I also don't speedrun Resident Evil 1 as much because of the tank controls. It might just be me, but when I play for a long time, my hands can get a little tired of the tank controls, so I like to play more of the recent titles, just because they have a more fluent control scheme than Resident Evil 1. And yes, I know I can use the alternate control scheme in Resident Evil Remake 1, but again, I already went through that, don't like it as much, it feels weird. But I still love going back to see these controls, as it's a way to revisit old Resident Evil titles. That's about it though for the things that I don't like about Resident Evil. For me, Resident Evil 1 Remake is one of the best out of the remakes, to go back and really experience Resident Evil's origins. From the camera angles, inventory, and control scheme, it makes for a good first installment. Thankfully, this game isn't too new though. This is before Capcom realized how bad the voice acting was, and it leads to some of the best line deliveries in this game.
Oh, what was that?
Barry.
That was a close one. A second late, you would have fit nicely into a sandwich.
Really? Thanks.
Barry!
Jill, what's going on? Any clues?
No, but something's wrong with this house.
This house is dangerous. There are terrible demons. Ouch!
You're wounded. What kind of demon attacked you?
It was a huge snake, and also poisonous. Ugh.
Poisonous? Oh no. Richard, hold on.
No offense to the actors, I just found myself laughing so many times replaying this game. Since normally I skip the cutscenes for my speedruns, this is one of the first times in a long time I actually had to sit and watch through the cutscenes again. It is a real treat. I recommend that you watch them for yourself. Of course, though, Resident Evil is one of my favorite gaming franchises of all time, and I plan on keep playing the new releases on this channel, so keep an eye out for that. But now, should you buy Resident Evil? Well, I'm not going to include the original in this little area because that would be really hard to get your hands on, so I'm just going to be taking a look at the remake only for this part of the video. When it comes to Resident Evil 1's remake, I don't know, it's a little mixed for me if people should take a look at it. I think it's a really good game with a lot of good moments throughout the game, but the controls and the camera angles may turn a lot of people off. My overall recommendation is that you do check out this game. Trust me, the game will feel a little wonky when you start playing it, and it might make you want to stop, but just trust me, if you stick through it, you'll get the hang of it, and everything will go according to plan. And if you're not a fan of horror games, then yeah, don't play this game. It can be scary. I'm not scared of it anymore, but if you're scared easily and you don't like to be scared, I would skip this game. Skip Resident Evil. Go play Resident Evil 4. That game's not too scary. As always, thank you guys so much for watching today's What Is video. If you guys liked it, as always, hit the like button. And if you want to see more of this content, hit the subscribe button. I really want to hit 70 subscribers before the end of this year. So hit that subscribe button. Let's get there. Only 7 more away. Well, now that that's all said and done, I should have enough knowledge to be able to save the world. What's that? Oh, that could be a person. I better tell them about the cure. It's a whole lot of earth. I'm sorry, who the hell are you? No!